Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you very much, Lisa, Dolly, Malika. Absolute privilege. So I'm very happy because this is also the first ever Women of Music India panel. So it's special. And I think, we just wanted to, I think each one of us have had a very unique journey in entertainment. I've had the pleasure of working with some of you. I've had the pleasure of also watching a lot of the work that some of you have created. And I thought it was just important to have, just an open, frank, honest chat about how to get your seat at the table, right? I think we hear a lot of chatter and conversation around how things are imperfect. And whilst I don't think we can magically change the way the world operates, right? We can always try and see what I like to refer to as the good hustle, right? And I think sometimes it's challenging, especially in the environment that we're in with entertainment, with the kind of worlds that we operate in. But I thought, who better than the three of you, because we've had such varied experiences, to share some of your tips, tricks, experiences, right? So with that said, I'm going to just dive right in. I feel with most creators, or just with most professionals, right, in entertainment, we've all had a certain part of our journey where at least the initial years, and I feel this is really gender agnostic. Early days of our careers, you just feel like, look, ye aise hi hota hai. This is how it's done. Suck it up, take it or leave it. And I think we all go through that initial grind where we're like, okay, fine, I don't really have bargaining power, leverage. And then there comes a point in our professional lives where you feel that, okay, I do have some more power, some more control over this conversation. I'm able to set my boundaries better. So I think with that background, what I do want to ask each of my panelists is, when in your respective careers did you realize the importance of having a say, having a seat at the table? Malika, do you want to start and tell us what was that point?
Hi. Oh, yeah, I don't even know how to use a mic anymore. But hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. So I think I'd like to start off by first establishing the fact that I come from a very privileged background, and I did not have to face any kind of gender discrimination in my home, which is the first place that this kind of conditioning usually sets in. I was very fortunate. We were two sisters, and we were raised by parents who believed that we were second to none, And that was kind of the mentality that I carried forward, which really helped, which I did not see happening to a lot of women around me. And I feel that's the first place where the gap really begins. As for my work, I spent a few years in advertising before, moving to whatever it is that we do today. And when I switched careers, initially, there were a lot of agents and a lot of senior comedians courting you and things like that, and they were all men. And initially, I really loved the attention that I was getting and the focus that was on me. And then there was a point where I realized, hold on, no, it's me. It's coming from me. It's not their gaze. It's me that the light is being reflected on. And I think it's in the smaller decisions that you take. Like, I'll give you an example. For instance, there is a sketch by AIB, right? And they required me to play a really token side character. I said, no, I will not play it. I said, I'll either be the star in the video or I will not be in the video, And I feel that is also a liberty that I could take because of, I guess, the confidence that I had in myself that was instilled in me. But those were the smaller things, which, of course, going forward in this career, which is fairly disorganized, right? It's infinite and fairly disorganized, but it labels you a lot of things. It labels you difficult, it labels you this, that. And I think I made my peace with it. I said, I will ask for what I want from who I want. My priority is not to be liked. My priority is to get my due. So I think that's when I realized, like when I stopped trying to be liked, is when I realized ki, chalo.
That's fantastic. I love how you've owned being called difficult, because I was literally going to raise that with you, because I know that there's all sorts of stereotypes, all sorts of name callings, and I think this
and they're reserved for women. Like, I saw this, like this term, XYZ was throwing a tantrum. You will never hear that he was throwing a tantrum. It's always she's throwing a tantrum. So I mean, yeah, chalo. This is not a therapy session, Malika. Just please talk, Dolly.
Dolly, I have to ask you, when was that point in your career when you felt that no, it's important for me to have a seat at the table?
Hi. Hi, everyone. I think for me, see, from the beginning, definitely there was the urge to just be able to have some sort of control and choice. Because I could see very easily there might be a point in my life where decisions could be made for me. So I needed to make sure that I study hard and I do everything in my capabilities, which will give me that power. Education was definitely one of them. And I think after that, once I've started working, making content, I think what I try to always prioritize is what do I want and what do I want to get. Um, I'm not the most confident person in the room, so sometimes I've had to do things which, I'm like, oh, why did I say yes to this? Or like, why did I cut myself so short? क्यों मैंने इसके लिए हाँ बोल दिया या shit यार इसमें तो मेरा कोई फायदा ही नहीं है, you realize later. But I think, even that decision to take seat on the table is, I think it kind of happens every day. Every day you literally struggle to walk up to that seat. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't make it. But right now, thankfully, I'm in a much more, privileged environment. I've created a space for myself where I am making those decisions. I am dreaming big. I am not holding myself back. And I am letting myself take the room and not, allowing other people to cross those boundaries. And especially men, I have to talk about that because I feel like it's not like there's men to be blamed or anything, but it's the way we are, we grow up in the society. It's just they also feel like it's their right and it's just easy for them to speak up while we keep calling ourselves out or just, feeling some sort of guilt on our shoulders that we shouldn't be speaking so much. So I think that's what I'm trying to learn, unlearn, and all of that. But the decision to take a seat was definitely like just knowing that there's nobody I can kind of fall back on. So I have to take the seat.
I love that. Lisa, do you want to add in?
Hello. Oh, singer. Yeah, sure. For me, it was actually quite late. I think I worked in the independent music space in America for a few years. And then I came to India and I had no context at all because my career happened to me overnight, even though the journey to it was 11 years. That moment was so big and the momentum behind it was insane. So I didn't really have any prep. So I showed up in a foreign country where I didn't speak the language. I do now. And I had to wing it every single day. And what happens there is because you don't have any access and any context, you are constantly taken for a ride. And you just assume that that's your lot in life. Like, aise hi chalega, because I was told aise hi hota hai. So this person will write for you, this person will compose for you, this music director will tell you कि ये शब्द को ऐसे pronounce करो और film में this is how she's feeling, so you sing it like this. You have no input. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. You're there to do a job. I think being a playback is voice acting with song, right? So my job is to perform on behalf of the actor on screen. I don't resent that at all. But it just wasn't for me. I have been built differently. I was exposed to working in an American music system that's very different and where you are the musician, you are the composer, you are the writer. Not necessarily only you, but you have a lot of say in your art. So for me, unlearning that, Bollywood environment took me 5 years until literally March of last year, or February of last year. And you wouldn't believe, I took the decision to kind of take a pause in that career because of a man. The MD of Warner Music Company, Jay Mehta, I went into a meeting with him and I said, I have a couple of songs I want to pitch to you. And he said, okay, let's sit down and we'll listen. And I was very, very nervous because usually I go into these meetings with a team, with a manager, but I just wanted to see what it's like to be a novice again. And to be like, what does it take to actually earn a spot and not just be told, go here, meet this person, and there's no pitch. you're told to go and meet this person. ये गाना बनेगा ही ऐसे ही बनेगा गा के घर वापस आ जाओ. So I was like, okay, I have to put myself out there. I'm a bundle of nerves, and I go in and I play these 2 songs to him, and he's like, they're good. We can put them out tomorrow. That's fine. He's like, but did you write them? I was like, no, I just sang. So he's like, but I know your background is as a songwriter. Why are you not writing these songs? And he's like, if it's a language difficulty, he's like, clearly you don't have that. He's like, I know you can compose. So what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. Until that moment, it hadn't occurred to me I could do something else. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should write my own songs. And it's ironic that a man had to tell me that too. But it's a good lesson to learn. And then he said, the challenge is now, come back to me in 1 month and present to me 2 or 3 songs you've written on your own. And I'm gonna, have a chat with you about what I think, and we'll take it from there. And the greatest thing he did was he said, if you're nervous about starting, I will give you the people that you need in the room, which no one had done before. Demystifying the music industry, saying that you can have a writer, you can have a co-composer, you can have an engineer, outfitting the space. No one does that. Everyone just says, हाँ, guitar को उठा के कुछ बजा लो, ऐसे ही गाना बनता है. And I was like, no, that's so intense. Like, that's a lot of pressure on me to create something organically, having not done it in this industry before. So he was like, I'll give you a couple of people as cushions from the reality check you're about to get. And I went in, we made 3 songs, which became 5, which was an EP, which became 8, which became 12. And then we cut it back down to 8 and we made an album. So I came back with a full album to him and he was like, I already knew you could do it.
But Lisa, that actually also brings me to something else that I wanted to throw open to all of you here, right? And I think it's very classic with, especially I think with our gender, the imposter syndrome, right? I read somewhere that there's a difference between confidence and competence. And I think women very often make the mistake of trying to be truly competent, and only then do we start feeling confident. I feel this constant battle between my confidence and my imposter syndrome did, at least for me, early days of my career, would stop me from getting into a lot of rooms. I feel, I feel with some of us, yes, there's an inherent amount of confidence that I have, and then there's the confidence that comes from being really good at your craft, being very talented, which all said and done, sometimes experience brings that to you, right? There's no replacing that. And the more experience we get, the more, for example, with me, right, in my profession, the more I practice, the greater my confidence becomes, right? The more nuanced my skill is, the more finesse there is to what I do. So I just want to throw it open to you, to each one of you, is where do you realistically sit on this imposter syndrome and this competence versus confidence spectrum?
Yeah, the victim should start.
I have confidence in you.
Oh my God. Like, I've had a major phase of imposter syndrome where I didn't even know actually what it was, I feel like obviously we're learning these terms every day nowadays. But it was actually my audience that kind of diagnosed me because I was making a vlog. And in that vlog, I was actually being really honest with whatever I was feeling. I don't think those days will be back, but there were. And they were actually kind enough to tell me that we feel that what you're feeling right now is imposter syndrome, and you're not feeling confident enough in your work and everything and whatever, And obviously I started therapy after that. But definitely I think reading up on it made me realize that, of course, what you're feeling is not true, first of all. You deserve to be where you're at. Yeah. And secondly, that just overall women just end up feeling so much more of this imposter in general is because they just feel like, oh my God, first they have to do so much. And even if they achieve something, they feel like, I must have done something by fluke, or ya pata nahi kaise ho gaya, I'm pretty sure I don't deserve to be here, and all these feelings that, in general, just men don't go through that for whatever reason. And I feel like now when I meet fellow women and I see that streak, of imposter, of feeling that way, I definitely try to reach out. I still have that. I still have phases where I'm not feeling well and I'm feeling like, अब क्या करना है, मतलब एक बार तो तुक्के से अच्छा हो गया, अब कैसे आगे बढ़ना है, like you constantly keep feeling this and there will be days where you're pulling yourself down. होता है ना कभी कभी अपने आप ही sad हो रहे हैं,
Yeah,
गाने
we're our
बजा
own
के
worst
और
critic.
extra sad हो रहे हैं, so on those days I'm like yeah, imposter. But then you have to wake up and the next day you have to blast some nice music and be like, okay, आज brush करो, नहाओ और काम पे लग जाओ.
But Dolly, what helps you in those moments?
See, I feel like therapy has really helped me just to make sense of it. Where does this come from? Why am I feeling this? I'm also, like you said, confidence and competence. I've always been this person कि मेरे को बस काम करना है, मेरा काम अच्छा होना चाहिए और सब मेरी तारीफ करेंगे. उसके लिए मुझे किसी के पास जाके बात करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है या कुछ नहीं है, right? But the world doesn't work like that. You could be working your hardest, but there's also other things that you need to do. There's also other skills that you need to learn. Just एक ही चीज़ को रोज़ रगड़ के करने से it's not gonna help. And if you feel like, that's the only thing, ऐसा नहीं है. I feel like confidence as a feeling in itself just takes you so long. And I've also learned, when they say fake it till you make it, as cliche as it sounds, it really helps. It really helps. So I've learned that. I'm taking regular therapy. Also reading up on it really helps because there's so many, also testimonials of people and books written on this. So you can actually read up about like what other people have gone through and how they have felt, especially women. I think that helps a lot. Just knowing that there are many more people like that, because when I first felt that, I felt so alone and I felt like such a loser, that I don't know how to figure this out. But just knowing the fact that first it has a name and that many people go through it is
And
actually...
that you're not the only one feeling it. But
Yeah.
Malika, I have to bring you in here, right? With confidence. And I know that you are someone I've worked with very closely. You're immensely sure of what you want. I do wonder, though, that sometimes do you think it's the environment or, to call a spade, do you think sometimes it's the politics of it all that actually affects your confidence? It's not that internally we're lacking it, but we're in an environment where there is so much being asked of you to succeed, right? To thrive. And especially with entertainment, it's disorganized. You're dealing with agents, managers, executives. I feel the fate of your career is sometimes completely out of your control. There are so many factors, there are so many rooms that you're not present in to defend yourself, to sell, desell. And I feel sometimes comments are also made so loosely to desell somebody. I don't think the person making it even stops to think that, hey, what is my basis for saying this? How is it going to impact someone who's not even present in the room to make a statement to clarify this, right? So I just want to know that really, do you agree, disagree that it's more sometimes the extraneous factors that really affect our confidence, and it's got nothing to do with how competent or not we are?
I was literally going to say this because there's a lot of gaslighting that happens, right? Why are you overthinking? Why are you doing this? But very often, if you are feeling symptoms, it's because you're in an environment where there is illness, right? And that is primarily the problem, right? Today you put any video online, right? I can put a video of this. I could be doing a bit, 5-minute bit, and some 5 people will write, "Hasna tha kya? Not laughing today, will not laugh tomorrow. I have decided मैं इस पे नहीं हंसूंगा." Now the thing is, that person means nothing to me. Okay, they don't hold a candle to me. They can't even look me in the eye and speak to me. But what they do have over me is that I have put myself out there for their feedback, right? Now, I need to understand as a creator the difference between a mob and genuine feedback. And it's not easy to not be affected by what people are saying. And I genuinely don't feel it's a problem to want to be competent, to want to hone your craft, to want to be absolutely perfect. It's the environment around you that is the problem. And here's the bad news, you can't change that either. So where I'm at in life is that, if there's something I want to put out there, I will put it out there without reading what's being written. I'll have someone else read it, or the people around me who love me and see me for who they are, they will tell me कि ये आपने सही किया, ये आपने नहीं सही किया, right? Because like we say, most decisions about your career are made in rooms where you're not even present, right? There's people making those decisions, getting a percentage of your earning, not even the whole thing. So obviously they hold either a lot of love or a lot of resentment against you, right? And somehow you have to make that bridge where what you do for yourself is far greater than what any agent, any agency, any manager can do, because all of these factors are transient. The only constant is you, right? No, your agency will change every few years. Mine has. Your managers will change. All of this will happen. But nothing can take away what you are, right? And that confidence doesn't necessarily yell. It lives within you. And it's with you through your darkest times, I feel.
No, I think that's very well put, and I feel that's also the formula for sustained success, or just for being in the race as long as each one of us has been, right?
Can I just say something? I have to say that, Malika just, I mean, the fact that she started a little before us and, kind of set the example for us women to follow, especially in the creating universe. She's done so much for us, trust me. Like, I learned so much from her. The fact that, what we were talking about, throwing tantrums or being the B
She
word.
has learned to throw tantrums from me.
I have not, but I have become okay asking for things, because now I'm not afraid of being called the one making tantrums. I have realized that none of this actually holds truth. If a particular heroine or an influencer or this or that is making issues or being too much or this and that, okay, but I was not there. I don't know. So maybe I'll know when I'm there. But for now, if this is what I'm asking, and if 5 of you are going to go outside and call me, the tantrum maker, or are asking for too much, then okay. I can't really control that. So I think Malika, in that reason, just her existence and the fact that she's so confident, and of course, she has become this person, I'm sure, just over the years and after learning so much by herself also. But for us fellow women who are, looking at her, I feel like I get so much of just courage from you, Malika. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we all in an unsaid way do this when if someone is trying to put somebody down, na कि वो ऐसी है, वो वैसी है. पहले मैं शुरुआत में बड़ा इंटरेस्ट लेती थी, it felt like gossip. Now I'm just like, shut up, you're calling her difficult, उसने ज़रूर तुझसे एक गिलास पानी मांग लिया होगा, तभी तुझे इतनी जलन हो रही है. I'm just like, you don't matter, I don't take you seriously anymore. Like, your word doesn't count. हंसना था.
But Lisa, I think you and I were having this chat backstage, right, about the Grammys recently,
Yeah.
and how most of their main award-winning categories were all women.
The big four this year were all women.
All women,
which
right?
unfortunately got swept under the rug because of other ancillary gossip.
Yeah, but cut to in India, right, and with brace yourself, and with where we are, and I'm saying this now maybe specifically even with entertainment or with music also, right. Sometimes I feel that we've kind of course-corrected to the other extreme, where now there is suddenly this extra effort, people realizing that, oh, wait a minute, on my roster, I actually don't have a single female artist. Or in my leadership team, I don't have any women. So, let's just like pepper it here and there. And then you have women like you and I that have a significant body of work, and we are in the rooms that we should be in because we earned it, right? It makes, and in the recent past, I've been told that, diversity inclusion quota, like, don't get ahead of yourself. I want to ask you though, do you feel that there is a lot of tokenism and that we're sort of course correcting to the other extreme? Sorry, I'm going to couple that with one other thing, that do we also feel that even with this different generation, it still somewhat becomes a version of locker room or boys club?
Yeah, I think I'll start with that. I think there's, just in a sentence, the music industry is a boys club. That's a fact. That's not controversial. That's the reality. And I think we should be frank about that, because where are these women? I was saying this earlier. In your top 10 artists in the world, consistently 6 or more are women. Other than moving in and out of those top 10 charts are usually Drake and The Weeknd. Then you have moving in and out, Bad Bunny and Justin Bieber. Consistently in the top 20, more than half are women worldwide. We have 0. Not 1 or 3, or I'm not asking, we have 0. No one charts that's a woman here on a solo record, non-film. It doesn't happen. And that answers your question. Is it a boys' club? Of course it is. Look at every number, look at every metric, look at these boardrooms, look at the photos being taken of, committees of men in music. Committees of people in music, and yeah, it becomes just men in music. Yeah. And it's really disappointing. But going off of what both of you said earlier, actually what Malika said earlier, I was raised by a girl dad, and I've been raised to be very bullish and unyielding and uncompromising. And I like myself that way. And one of my favorite quotes, I don't know if I'm allowed to say bad words, but one of my favorite quotes ever is by Tina Fey, which is that bitches get shit done. And I'm happy to claim that word because I get shit done. And my journey is not, consistently at a high. I have plummeted many times, very publicly. Things have not worked out, but I will always climb.
Yeah.
And I will always be very demanding because I need things to go a certain way, because I have to work twice as hard to get half of what everyone else does. We all do. And that is just reality.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So be demanding.
Be difficult.
Be difficult.
Own it.
Absolutely. Own it, because it is so hard to be in that room. Now claim that space. Just getting your door in that room, getting your foot in that door is such an impossible task. Now once you're there, don't be shy about it. So going back to what you were actually asking, tangential rant.
No, you have.
Yeah. I do feel like we are incredibly underrepresented in the music industry, and I don't feel necessarily that we're tokenized, because this is so sad. There need to be more of us to even be tokens. We're not even there. So there's hardly any of us to be considered and picked for tokenizing, as an artist, I'm saying. So yeah, these rosters are empty. Major labels are not necessarily focused on women. Yeah. The music industry in Bollywood is not employing us as songwriters and composers. We are always playback singers.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult leap to make, to leave that and become independent and make your own work and say that I'm willing to fail, because I know that the odds are massively stacked against me. And I will maybe fall flat on my face, but I'm glad I took that chance.
Not at all. You're far from falling flat on your face. And actually, that's what was going to bring me to my next question as well, because it's relevant to all three of you. Is you mentioned, yes, it's tough enough to get your foot in the door, have your seat at the table. But I want to move gears slightly, that also at a certain point in your career, you've got to change your seat at the table. And I think the three of you who have experienced this in different capacities, right? We're also in an environment where it's very easy to get stereotyped, labeled, put in boxes. You're constantly reminded that, no, this is your lane. Like, if you're doing this, don't try to do this, right? But each one of you has had a beautiful shift in your respective careers from where you started, what you were doing, to the other spheres that you've dabbled in. How difficult or not is it to change your seat at this table?
It's a financial risk. Let me lead with that. It's not easy to change your seat, because it's a lot easier to have some magic person, doing your finances and taking a cut and giving you what looks like a big fat check. It's a lot more risky always to be the brain and the money and the vehicle behind yourself. Yeah. But it's a worthy risk, and it pays off hard. And look at all the men around you that they got there doing that too. Yeah. So I want to be that, and I'm willing to risk my career on it for sure.
But Malika, with you especially, I feel like there's lots of labels. There's lots of constantly being told what they think you can and cannot do, and then you've always made this shift from where your career started to all of the various things you've done. And between us, because we work closely, I also know what the aspiration is. How challenging is that?
Honestly, I don't think I've gotten anywhere in terms of genuinely where I'd like to be, right? And I feel that's okay. Like, the struggle has been pretending that I know it all. You know, for a few years, sitting with your agents or whatever and discussing, yeah, this is the plan. That I was like, no, I was just doing something. And then one video went viral, and then suddenly life changed. Obviously, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Obviously, I'm winging it every second day, right? That was one challenge. B, the biggest challenge for me has been making this industry aware of mental health, especially when you work in comedy, in creation, something that requires all of you every day. The past 2-3 years, telling them that, hey, I know, like, you have to and I props to my team, all women, just to make them understand that, listen, I need money, I fend for myself, but I am grieving, I'm bleeding inside, but I'm grieving, but I need to make money. So figure out how we do it, you know? I think for me, that has been the challenge, to not be boxed as ki outside you're happy, so inside also you are happy, you know? That happens a lot, I think, with what we do. Like, our insides are not very acknowledged as much as our outsides are. But being boxed otherwise, that आप ये नहीं कर सकते, आप वो नहीं कर सकते, वो तो जिंदगी भर चलेगा, you know? Like, see, for example, within the agency I'm rep by, I have no one handling casting for me, because I don't think it's a priority. I don't think they think that I can do something, and I'm a student of acting, right? I will not take my degree every day and show it, nor do I have the social skills to like hobnob with casting directors. But what I can do is just be very kind to myself and have the faith that what is meant for me will come for me. Yeah. पता नहीं क्या बोला मैंने. आपने कुछ समझ लिया ना, बस ठीक.
Well, I'm going to end this with one fun question, though. So, if there was one person that you could invite to have a seat at your table, who would that be?
Firstly, Priyanka said, Malika, you can invite me. Priyanka is being very modest. She's like the greatest boss woman in the whole industry. And she has a team of even bossier women. Yeah, like Priyanka, you are the table.
Include me.
You are the table. We also want a seat.
Thanks for letting us bring a +1 to your table.
Yeah, really. I think it would be all the women in non-camera facing professions, you know, who do a great job. Like my sister, for example, she's a therapist. She's keeping all of us alive, to be honest, right? But very often, these are the people who don't have people discussing money for them. They don't have boss attorneys in life. They don't have all of that, but they are doing God's work out there. So maybe it would be a lot of women who are in very important professions, or not even like so-called professional, who are making homes, which is the most important thing. They need a seat at the table.
Okay, I love that. Dolly, who would you invite?
I'll give a very pageant-like answer. My mother. I think she deserves a big seat. What do you call it? Singhasan on that table. Yeah.
I think if we're talking about like my profession, in all artistic professions, especially in our industry, the technical fields are the forgotten fields. So all of your lights and engineers and all these people. For me as a musician, the people I really want at the table are girls like Arya at Island City, who is my mix engineer, and there's so few women who are mixing engineers, and she's phenomenal. And she doesn't only mix, she sits there and guides me on my vocal stacks and my harmonies, and she gives me, you know, advice on how I should do. And listen, that's a music director I like having.
She must be phenomenal because consistently,
She's
this
talked about by
entire
everybody.
week, she's the only name that has come up. I've been putting together a directory for women of music, and we've been asking for some of these roles, and she's consistently the only name in every conversation. So,
yes. Yeah. So girls like Arya who kind of make all of the wheels turn when you make a song. So yeah, she's the grease in the wheels. We love her.
Well, thank you. And we love you guys. Thank you for being such amazing panelists. This was fun. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Thanks, you
We're
guys.
happy to take a couple. I'm sure I'm conscious of time, but let's just do one or two.
My name is Vishal, and I'm in a profession of trade unions. So I work in films, in unions, which is not a career known to a lot, but I look up to Priyanka for that in a way because she has done that part. So I lived in LA and I worked on trade unions for the film industry. So as women on the panel and women of substance, and especially again coming back to Bollywood because that's the, around that, how do you see women in trade unions or film unions or women in music? How do they have a life when you talk about technicians? So do you see any role for women in the union careers in the music industry in Bombay especially?
I'm going to be honest, I need to learn more to be able to answer that question. That's a great question. You've given me homework to, go home with and research a bit. Priyanka, you want to speak to that
Yeah,
a
I
bit?
was just
Because
gonna-
I'd like to learn from you.
No, I was actually going to say that unfortunately, I don't think the unions in India are on the same scale as you see them in certain Western markets like the UK, US. There are, not to say that they don't exist, like the SWA, for example, right? The Screenwriters Association, which is registered as a trade union. Very active body. In fact, I know for a fact that they do have a lot of female writers that are part of that organization. And I think there's lots of women behind the scenes that are constantly championing, advocating, maybe, skewed in terms of the ratio that we have, but there's a lot of them. They're no longer faceless. They're very actively involved, championing for a variety of different issues. A lot of them to do with more day-to-day issues that impact how contracts are structured, how deals are impacted, royalties, and some of the more recent sort of equitable remuneration that has been introduced. So I feel like there's active participation. There's a lot of invitation. So that makes me happy when I see that. Any other question, guys? I want to take it from that lady.
Hi, I'm Lavanya. I'm currently actually a student, so I have been looking up to Malika ma'am a lot ever since I was a kid. So I see like women in specific have a lot of people-pleasing ability, like whatever industry they are in, they try to maybe catch the attention, and as also
Have you met the four of us? I don't think we'd qualify.
मेरा
But
तो
no, you're right.
opposite ही case है.
I
I
was
should
just-
people please a little bit maybe.
No, but as like students or girls like me who look up to you guys, there is a certain, I would say, try like maybe a path where they try to copy you or they try to, get inspired from you and create content, but they usually don't get the same maybe reaction from audience and stuff. So as yourselves, when you were, in the start of your career, how did you deal with the, anger, frustration, or, the recent trends? Because right now, though, in social media, there are so many new trends and challenges, and obviously as Instagram creators, you do try to join the movement. But what about when it doesn't work out?
So for me, the challenge was not like to begin with, because I wasn't trying to copy any Malika Dua. Like I just started, and it was at the beginning of time. The challenge really began as the apps evolved, and as they became like earlier, the creators would decide what they wanted to do, right? Now the apps decide what the creators should do, and they dictate. And you have to be on great terms with the apps. You have to feed the algorithm. एक गाना है, उस पे सब कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे. Which is not to say it's all bad, right? Because very different kinds of creators have now found an avenue. Like you have food creators, you have tech creators, you have so many different kind of people who've found their voices through the various changing formats. I think what you need to understand when you've kind of set yourself up for a creative profession is that it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to go up and down. And if you happen to be like me who had a tadang, then you have to be ready for a plateau also. You have to be ready for something lower. Then you have to be ready for highs. I was also very lucky. My father was a freelancer. And I saw a lot of ups and downs, financial and career-wise. I didn't learn anything from them. I had to learn my own lessons. But I think you just have to go through all the heartbreak, anxiety, and then reach a point where you decide कि अच्छा ये मैं हूँ, ये environment है, मैं खुद को कितना बदलूंगी इसके लिए? नहीं, ये बदलता रहेगा. Sometimes I will catch this train. Sometimes I'll not catch a certain train. I'll let it pass. But I must never ever derive my sense of self from this ever-changing technical circus. That's not where it comes from. So
That's
again, I
amazing.
don't know what I have said.
All brilliant stuff, all gold. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. You guys have been a lovely audience. And thank you, Malika, Dolly, Lisa. Such a pleasure.